What's up, Buff Nation? Happy Monday. Hope your week is getting off to a good start. I saw something this weekend that many of you may have already seen, but it was somebody admitting something that I wouldn't say blew my mind, but when they took it a step further, it certainly caught me off guard. You guys remember Johnny Football. You remember what the early 2010s were like with him at Texas A&M. For those of you who forgot, he was one of the first to take down Alabama in a thrilling game in 2012 when his Texas A&M Aggies beat the Crimson Tide and left Nick Saban speechless. That same guy who was an absolute lightning rod of entertainment, both on and off the field for some good and bad reasons, won the Heisman, went to the NFL, is no longer in the NFL, has battled some things, but certainly seems to have turned some things around. He was on Shannon Sharpe's show, and you've probably seen this, but he was asked his thoughts around Coach Prime, and he asked his thoughts about potentially playing for Coach Prime if Coach Prime had been around when he was there. I want you to listen to Johnny's comments, his thoughts, and then let's talk about it afterward.
Let's just say
the way that he started that answer, the way that he started to talk back to Shannon Sharpe, and the way that he paused, right? Like there's a yes, right? There's a way you can say yes to somebody. There's a way that you can agree with somebody. We all know, yeah, I would do that. Johnny Football didn't do that. Johnny Mandel didn't say, yeah, I think that'd be awesome. Coach Prime's a lot of fun. The way he paused and winced, and you could feel the emotion through the camera and said, without a doubt, I would do this, really shows that he felt like he put his entire being into starting that answer. And then you could hear when he explained the answer, when he went on. There's nothing worse than when you're interviewing somebody and they just give you a, yeah, I'd do that. Next question. The way that he went on, he made Shannon's job so easy by delving into that, by going into and giving us something to react to. The way he said that he was personal with him, the way that he felt like it was a personal touch, the way that they both connected from being from the same area, from the same place, both being Texas guys, the way that he talked about Coach Prime reaching out and checking in on his personal life. To me, that stood out more than a lot of this answer, more than a lot of the things we've done. Coach Prime went above and beyond at a time that it wasn't going to benefit Coach Prime. This wasn't a recruit that Coach Prime was targeting. You guys remember what Coach Prime was doing in 2012? It wasn't coaching at Colorado. It wasn't coaching at JSU. He was not even doing this. It wasn't like he was doing this with a recruit that he was trying to impress. He wasn't texting a recruit trying to say, hey, make sure you come out to Boulder. Make sure you come check us out here. We got the good stuff out. No, he was just checking in on him because that's who he was. That's the person and the character and the humility that Coach Prime had. He talked about the way he was a leader of men. Johnny Football understood and understands what it's like to be a leader of men. First of all, he's a quarterback. Second of all, he was a Heisman Trophy winner at a Power 5 school, an SEC school in Texas A&M. He absolutely understood what it would take to be a leader. He understands it from the wrong way, too. Johnny Football did not have an incredibly long NFL career. He kind of flunked out of the league due to some bad decisions, due to some things that he probably regrets. He's talked about them. I'm not smearing the guy, but he's talked about some of those things. And he understands the right way to lead, and he understands the wrong way to lead. And shout out to Johnny Football for understanding that. A lot of people don't get that even now, but he gets it, and he understands that Coach Prime is that guy. The personal relationship. Did you notice what he didn't talk about? He didn't talk about wins. He didn't talk about how good he thought he could coach. He didn't talk about how good he thought his offense or defense might be. It was the personal relationship. It was the connection. It was who he was as a person that Johnny talked about. Now, that's not to say that Coach Prime can't coach. That's not to say that he can't effectively lead on a football field. But if you don't have that personal connection, none of that other stuff matters. How does Coach Prime, how is he viewed in recruiting? Well, let me tell you something. Probably as very genuine. Probably as somebody who kids and parents can trust. And that's exactly what Johnny Football then went into. He went a step further. It's one thing to say you would do something. It's one thing to say, hey, I would take this risk. I would take this challenge on. Hey, I would try to accomplish this goal. But to then put your theoretical, he doesn't have any kids that I'm aware of, put your theoretical son or your children into that situation and say, hey, not only do I trust this man with my life, I would let my son or my kid play for him. That's where he would end up going. That's where he would end up playing football. That's a completely different level. For those of you out there who are parents or understand somewhat that dynamic, that is a way, way different thing to say than just, I would go do this thing. I would go out and try this. I would let Coach Prime coach me. No, I have such a respect for this guy. I have such an admiration for this guy. I have such a relationship with this guy who never coached me, who never tried to recruit me, who was never going to get any benefit from my career in college or high school or the pros or anything like that. Coach Prime wasn't in it for that. I would send my son to play for him too. We talk all the time about Coach Prime backing up what he preaches. We talk all the time about Coach Prime walking the walk, not just talking the talk. And here, the more you see it, the best thing to me about Coach Prime is he doesn't tell you the cool things he does. He's not on TV telling you, hey, you know what's cool about me is back when Johnny Football was playing football, I was mentoring him a little bit. I was coaching him up. I was messaging him to check in on him. I was seeing how things were going. And, you know, a little bit of his success, you can throw my way. He doesn't do any of that. He's not telling you that. But the more that Coach Prime is in the limelight, the more that he's in the spotlight, the more stories like this you're going to hear. The more you're going to find out what he's done behind the scenes. And that's typically how a lot of these things go. We heard stories of other cool things that have happened that have come out since he's kind of been more in the spotlight at Colorado, since he's been more in the spotlight at JSU, and since he's been coaching. And it's really cool to see. How can that potentially affect recruiting? Kids see this. Kids hear this. Parents hear this. And it's going to be a lot of fun to continue to cover. But an encouraging story today, something a little bit different. I know you enjoyed the interview. Go watch it. If you're a college football fan, go watch the rest of the interview with Johnny Manziel. Really, really good stuff. But man, that Coach Prime part, as a parent, really stood out to me. And I was glad that he was so honest. I was glad that he was so passionate in his answer. And I was glad that he was so upfront with Shannon Sharpe because it really was impressive to see. I appreciate you guys for tuning in today. Getting closer and closer to spring football. We'll talk about some real football stuff here soon. But thank you, as always, for watching the Prime Time for college football.